For a footballer, life is a game of choices. And though these days it's tougher to make bad ones, back before media training and top-level PR, these choices could make or break careers. The big decision that they have to make is, which do I want? Fame or fortune? Trophies or paychecks? And in recent years this question has become much harder to answer. But in 2015, a goalscorer, tired of the big leagues, took a chance that cost him his reputation in Europe, but would make him a legend elsewhere. André-Pierre Gignac's rise to prominence in France was gradual. Dropped by his local side Marseille for his skinniness, ironically, he moved across the country to Brittany's Lorient, where his super sub appearances played a hand in getting them promoted. But he wouldn't see a Ligue 1 pitch for another year, loaned to Power of the third tier. Under the lights of the Noustkamp, he fought to earn the respect of Gourcuff, the coach at Lorient, who recalled him, made him a fixture and was rewarded as Gignac ended the year as their top scorer. In July of 2007, the 21-year-old got his first official transfer, arriving at the higher profile Toulouse, and a very underwhelming first season allowed him to overwhelm in the follow-up. Smashing in 24 goals, the most in the division, he blew Ligue 1 away, which finally drew the gaze of the French Football Federation and Raymond Domenech, who gave him a shot in a competitive era for Les Bleus strikers. From his instinctive poaching to curling free kicks, the big man had everything a textbook target man would want, and his agent's phone caught fire. Manchester United, Juventus, Arsenal, Milan, every juggernaut you could think of would have taken him off their hands. Still, he stayed for another year until Marseille called. 17 million euros in 2010 was major money, so the pressure was already on him before kicking a ball. But it mounted across the opening months that became years as Gignac struggled in the South Coast. Turbulent would be generous. The goals weren't going in, and everyone got on his back, including Jean-Pierre Papin, the club president and legend, who labelled him too predictable. Questions were even raised about his weight, and he was dropped from the national team, about which the media showed no mercy, so he looked for the exit door, but a failed Fulham move kept him trapped in the fire. While his teammates got their big moves, he was stuck. So, always self-aware and with a fighting spirit, he made the most of it. And back as the first choice forward, got back on the horse, taking those chances he'd been missing and entering a resurgence. Topping their scoring charts for 3 years straight, this was the Gignac Marseille had been promised. An absolute animal with a magical touch, electric bursts of pace, and vicious right foot. Any angle or distance, volley or grass cutter, the 10 had it all under his belt, barely giving the goalkeepers a sniff as he rifled home some of the most powerful strikes you'll ever see.
Dégage mal, et c'est André-Pierre Gignac qui offre le but du 2-1 à
Much like his frame, he had a huge character. Like an alpha making betas out of the defenders, out-muscling, out-jumping, and outsmarting them on his way to the net. That third year under Marcelo Bielsa was the one that re-attracted Europe's big boys. Peaking with confidence, his place was established, and in a group amongst Dimitri Payet, Florian Thauvin and Andre Ayew, the service was class, teeing him up with crosses or through balls which he always took a huge swing at, often hitting hole-in-ones. There was no hexagol, and he was only runner-up to Alex Lacazette for the Golden Boot, but the quality he displayed was of the highest echelon, and you could only imagine what he'd do as the frontman of a great team. This all came after his World Cup snub in 2014, and it was like a fire had been lit under him, and he hit his prime to feel all the praise and adulation just to show everyone the finger. The fickle world of European football had gotten to him, and though he was now finally feeling valued, the source of it was impure. Gignac longed for a genuine fan base, people who would treat him like a god and not flip from love to hate on a dime. So he turned down El Loco's offer to stay at the Velodrome and did something to shock all on the French Riviera. Having seen out his contract, he was denying the club a big payday and on a free journeyed 6,000 miles west to Monterrey, Mexico, where he inked his signature for Los Tigres. As you'd expect, the French took an elitist attitude to it, calling it a lazy retreat for someone who's given up and wants a payday. But his financial boost was relatively small, so that couldn't have been all on his mind. Mobbed upon arrival, this was a country that lives and breathes the beautiful game, but wasn't used to welcoming Europeans at the peak of their powers, let alone ones who spoke their language and knew their history.
Parce qu'il y a la ferveur, il y a la passion, il y a un stade qui est plein, il y a une belle équipe, il y a un projet aussi qui est sportif avec la Coupe Libertadores, la Coupe CONCACAF. Donc il y a plein de choses à faire. Donc voilà, je suis content.
He wasn't here to relax. Gignac had made his aims clear and set out to realise them. Joining in time for their semis, his first goal was critical as they beat out Internacional for a place in the final of the Copa Libertadores. Founded in 1960, this could have been the defining moment in Tigres history, but Gallardo's River Plate were too strong, whitewashing them for a third title. The dream died when in 2017 a format change excluded Mexican teams from competing, and Gignac never got that closure. He wasn't going to let the same thing happen to his tenure in blue, and embarked on his first ever 30-goal season to win back favour with the selectors, banging in worldie after worldie in South America.
Hugo González manda 4 en la barrera, le va a pegar Gignac, tira!
His power was unlike anything before seen in Liga MX. It didn't matter these opponents were substandard. The brilliance of Gignac was fit for the best teams in the world, inspiring Los Tigres to silverware that December. Despite their checkered history, Deschamps, now in charge of making the cut for Euro 2016, couldn't turn a blind eye to his former striker, just named the best player in Mexico. Second fiddle to Giroud, he saw more action than expected, appearing in all but their first game on the road to the final. Introduced in the 78th minute, the hosts were dominant, but couldn't break through until injury time.
Brilliant, but he hits the post!
And famously, when Portugal sealed the silver, it was a moment to haunt him for life.
Y bueno, me dolió, regresé a Monterrey y quise jugar de una para olvidar todo eso, pero fue muy difícil. Tuve una temporada muy difícil y bueno, me desperté en la liguilla, lo más importante.
Back on Mexican soil, he couldn't stop winning. The Liga MX is divided into the Apertura and the Clausura, meaning opening and closing, each with their own champions. Domestically, Gignac lifted every trophy out there, and did so more than once, capturing 4 Liga MX titles and 3 Super Cups for Los Tigres, whose supporters had fallen head over heels for the Frenchman. When a player feels the crowd behind them, it's like they've got superpowers, and that's the only explanation for his time with the Golden Blues. His confidence scale was broken, attempting almost offensively audacious shots, but as long as they kept hitting the net and he felt the roar of the Regios, Gignac didn't stop. The long shots were stuff of old school Pez, like he put the whole league on easy mode, making an absolute joke of it all. Onlookers couldn't help but question how, but it's very simple. An elite striker was having fun. In August 2019, after a 4-year chase, his 105th goal in Mexico made him Tigres' all-time top scorer to end a 31-year-old record, though it wasn't his most important strike for long. The CONCACAF Champions League was the premier international competition for American soccer, and the Tigres knew it all too well, slipping up in 3 finals since Gignac touched down. In the winter of 2020, now 34, this was his last chance, and even with the interruption of COVID, his 5 goals led them to another final in Orlando against LAFC. In an empty Exploria stadium, tied 1-1, the number 10 answered the prayers of his people and immortalised his legacy.
CONCACAF Champions League trophy.
4 years have passed since then, and in that time he's added another 80 to his historical tally, as well as a few more honours. Still going strong today, Gignac's wholly fueled by the passion of the fans and has become a leader for the younger players who he hopes to carry on the form of Los Tigres. That's something that's been clear from the jump. He never saw this as a stepping stone, nor a layover, immersing himself fully in the country's culture and massively raising the profile of the Mexican game. By the time he hangs up his boots, he'll be the greatest player to ever grace Liga MX. Gignac's status at El Volcan rivals Gerrard's at Liverpool, Lahm's at Bayern, and Totti's at Roma as their ultimate hero. He's worshipped there to this day, and will be indefinitely, never needing to pay for a carne asada or margarita in Monterrey ever again.
Gracias a Dios, todavía sigo en México y esta historia pues no se acaba todavía.
Muchas gracias.
A man on a soul search whose dying fire for his passion is stoked up by a place he's been told to disregard. Romance is a bit of a lost concept, hard to find these days in any sport, so the tale of Gignac and Los Tigres is utterly refreshing.